So we finally know how things are going to stand with Rassie Erasmus and the Springboks. Finally, official word out today that he is going to be their new coach, basically, and director of rugby, which is the role he'd already kind of been appointed to. So his contract's 6 years. So he's going to go through the 2019 and to the 2023 World Cups. So it's a long term. There's definitely confidence from South African Rugby Union in Rassie to turn things around or to show improvement from where things were at, and they've shown that with a 6-year contract. I'm not sure whether it was like the only deal he was going to take or whether it was a money thing, because often if you can guarantee someone a job for 6 years, they might be willing to take lower money. I don't know, 6 years is a long time, but yeah, they're planning for the future, so we'll see how it works out. I mean, if they end up winning a World Cup, it's all going to be worth it. If he ends up in the unlikely event that he was to perform poorly and had to be paid out, that's a lot of time to pay out. So it's a risk, but yeah, like I said, it shows confidence in where he's going. So for his background, he's coached the Cheetahs. Took them to a Curry Cup when they hadn't had a Curry Cup for a long time, like 20 years. Just improved the team generally. Went to the Stormers, no silverware, but just improved results. They got into playoff contention at Curry Cup and Super Rugby level under him. Worked with Saru, so general manager with the high performance teams. So he's been there and done that in South African rugby. He's kind of paid his dues, and it's his turn basically. I think he was in the conversation before when Alistair Coetzee originally got the job, from memory. It's a while ago now. But yeah, it's his turn now, so we'll see how he does. He's also gone to Munster, by the way. I don't follow the Pro 12, Pro 14 as much as I should. Follow the results, but miss out some of the details. And from what I've read up, his results there, they didn't win the final. They lost to Scarlets in the previous season, last season of the Pro 12. But he got Coach of the Year, so. Again, I mean, the common theme with all his teams that he's coached is basically just improvement. It's not always silverware, but he's always improved wherever he's gone. So I think if you're a Springboks fan and you're looking at 2019, you're saying improvement, in 2023, possibly silverware. That has to be the target. You don't get a six-year contract without that kind of expectation. He's also crazy. Yeah, I mean, I read that when he was, I didn't know this, when he was at the Cheetahs, he used to sit on top of the stands, like on top of the roof of the stands, to watch the game from above, so he could get the best possible view. And he would signal with like coloured paddles or signs as to what his instructions were. I mean, this was in the 2000s, so maybe he didn't have cell phone coverage, maybe. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, that just shows kind of the thinking outside the box, thinking outside the square that he wants to do to try and, get an advantage. So, I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's different. It's dangerous. They even built a little hut for him eventually to keep him out the sun. But, yeah, it just like kind of speaks to the man that he's willing to try something to get a result. So I don't think that's a bad thing. He's brought some good stuff with him. So Jackson Nanaba, he was with him for a long time. Not recently. Well, recently at Munster, but not before that. I think he had some time with the Springboks without Rassie. But still, Rassie's been part of the Saru setup. So yeah, I mean, they met in the army. So he's obviously a very trusted companion. And went from a physio to a defense coach, and a pretty good one. So I think the working relationship they have is probably optimal. They've just gone through so much of their career kind of side by side that one working without the other is not as strong as when they're together. So I think that's a very good appointment. Mzwandile Stick, so he is a former Sevens player. He did have some time with the Springboks as like an attack coach or a backline coach, and he pretty much got fired under Alistair Coetzee. But I watched Rassie Erasmus's press conference today, and he basically said that maybe the role that he was employed in before with the Springboks wasn't like optimal for his talents, and he kind of wants to draw more on his sevens background. So not backline, not attack, but more like the off-the-ball stuff. So I would imagine it's the kind of heads-up rugby that you have to play when you're playing sevens. Those are the skills that he can impart on the players, not necessarily just like a backline coach. So yeah, we'll see how he goes. And Peter de Villiers, so not the former Springbok coach, who's the Zimbabwe guy, not him. The scrums coach, so the guy who used to play for France. Been with the Springboks for as long as I could make out. So yeah, a pretty solid team behind him. So remember with Alistair Coetzee, when he left, he was saying he didn't have the men that he wanted around him. They didn't kind of buy into his plan. Well, Rassie's got the men around him. So I think progress has to be made. I think progress will be made. Things are in a pretty poor state now. So, I mean, it's kind of, don't jinx it, but it can't get much worse in terms of South African rugby record. If you're below 50%, that's not acceptable. So it has to go higher. He's got England in a match in America before his 3 games. Sorry, did I say England or Wales? He's got Wales in the game against America. Good Lord. No, against America. They're going to America and they're going to play Wales. And then they're going to go play England. So those are the June tests. It's a weird one. Like, I know New Zealand's played a few times in America as kind of a money spinner and a promotional thing for the game. They've played the Irish. They've played the Americans. So they're playing the Welsh. The South Africans are playing the Welsh there. I guess it's kind of a warm-up. Some of the questions around it were kind of like, how are you going to get your players fit to play England a week later in South Africa if they're in America playing Wales? He seems confident that he can do it. So yeah, he's got a tough test with England. But I mean, England just lost to Scotland, although it's a strong Scotland side. England have lost a bit of that air of invincibility. Still think they may be the favourites going down to South Africa because it's like number 2 in the world playing number 5 or 6 in the world. But I mean, going to South Africa is no easy trip. So I'm hoping that he can have that kind of impact that he's had at the Cheetahs, the Stormers, and at Munster, that he's just going to get that improvement. And he doesn't seem to be the one who takes time. Like in modern sports, you don't have time to take to improve. You know, it's got to be kind of hit the ground running. In rugby, you might get a year or two. But yeah, he needs to hit the ground pretty quickly, because if he gets kind of whitewashed by England, people will start doubting him from day one. They'll be looking at the 6-year contract and going, what a joke, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, I think you've got to have a bit of faith. The man's got a very good record. He's never failed as a coach from what I could find and from what I remember. So yeah, I think you judge him on the 2023 World Cup, and you judge him on the performances they put him before that kind of world ranking. You got to make South Africa a really hard place to go to. It was always, for a New Zealand fan, it was always like, oh man, that trip to South Africa, it's going to be hard. And then it's kind of lost a bit of that in recent years. He needs to get that back. Like I said, from his record, I can only see this as a good move. From the guys he's brought in and his knowledge of how probably best to use them, I think he's in a good position. So yeah, call me naive or whatever, because I know when new coaches are talked about, we always think there's going to be improvement because it's like change is like something new. Like as a Blues fan, when John Kerwin was coming to the Blues, I was like, yes, this guy's going to be the guy. He was a former Auckland player. He's going to do it. Didn't do it. So change for the sake of change is not it, but this seems to be a well thought out change. He's getting the structure he wants. I believe it's a kind of turning of a new leaf for South African rugby. So we will see how things go. England tour is going to be too early to judge, but he's making all the right noises. He's saying the right things. So we'll see how he goes. Let me know what you guys think. It's kind of been talked about for a while, but we finally got the official news. So what do you think? You confident, South African fans? Yeah, we'll see how he goes anyway. All right, guys. I'll catch you for the next one.